All right, good morning, chat. How is everybody? 1 second, let me sort this out for you. All right, you should be able to see me. 1 second, I need to turn that off. Right, you should be able to see me, should be able to hear me. Everything should be going fine. You should see the first card. Again, this is the first time I'm doing something like this, so I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go. But hopefully, fingers crossed, it all looks good, sounds good, and everyone is ready for some card reviews. This is going to be a little bit different to what our expected programming would usually be on a Monday. Usually I'll be doing a Rams. But the new set for Magic, Lost Caverns of Ixalan, pre-releases this Friday. And I'm going to an event for that. Usually I'd have looked at all the cards already and sort of talked about it with my friends and all that sort of stuff. But I thought, why not do it on stream? So that's the plan for today. Again, some things may go wrong. I'm not sure. Fingers crossed it all works, but I'm never really sure about this stuff at the moment until I've tried it and we see how it goes. If you have any thoughts on the cards or any thoughts on anything I say, on whether I'm wrong or right or all any of that stuff, feel free to tell me in chat. You should appear on the side up above me here, so we can discuss any thoughts people have. But yeah, I have no idea how long this is going to take either. I guess it depends on how much I want to talk about the cards. It should be every card in the set. I think every card in the set has been revealed now. And we got everything we could. So, and this is all going to be from, I mean, I do play a little bit of Standard, but I'm not like a Standard, player, and I'm not particularly good at Standard. What I prefer to do is, like drafts, pre-releases, that sort of stuff, limited products. So this is going to be me thinking about it from a limited standpoint. So if I say a card is good, that's from a limited standpoint. I think it's good. It's not, good in general. It's probably not very good at all. Although, to be fair, they have been releasing some regularly just powerful cards in the last couple of sets. Like, always, black always gets a good new removal spell. White always gets a good new sweeper. Pretty much, always. I suppose the last set, maybe not as much. But anyway, let's get started with Albelo's, I have no idea how you say that word, Awakening. So we're starting with, the cards should be in numbered order on the bottom left. Theoretically. It took a little bit of finicking to get it working. So hopefully everything is in the right order. So yeah, we're starting with card number 1, which is a 4 and X sorcery. Return target artifact or non-aura enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield with X additional +1/+1 counters on it. Okay. It's a 1/1 spirit creature with flying in addition to its other types. I mean, again, I don't know what enchantments or artifacts there are in this set. Maybe this is really good. But you're essentially, so you're paying 4 mana for a 1/1 copy of whatever it is in your graveyard. So if you want to get value, you have to be returning an artifact or enchantment that costs 4 or more. Now, there's probably something busted you could do with this, but I think in general, paying 4 and whatever for a 1/1 that, unless it's, absolutely outstanding, doing something crazy, is probably not very good. Right? Like, it's just probably not. And it's not returning creatures, it's artifact or enchantment card. I suppose artifacts can be creatures and enchantments can be creatures. But I don't know if there's anything in this set. So this is probably pay 4, make a 1/1. And that sounds fucking terrible. I mean, like I said, if there's anything crazy in the set, maybe we'll come back and be like, oh yeah, maybe this card's really good. But just on the face of it, it's 4 mana for a 1/1. And you know what I pay for a 1/1? Usually 1 mana. Unless it's crazy. But preferably I'd prefer to play 1 mana for my 1/1s. Not 4. So yeah, I'm gonna... This is probably... one of those rares you just see passed around the table for ages because it's just crap. Acrobatic Leap, 1 mana, +1/+3, gains flying until end of turn. This is Leaping Ambush from last set. It was a green card, 1 mana, +1/+3, and reach, untap it. It was a fine combat trick. This is a fine combat trick. It's more defensive than it is aggressive. So it's probably not great. I mean, like I said, Leaping Ambush wasn't really played from what I remember in the draft set. So I'm going to say this probably won't be played. I mean, giving flying is good. But if it was target creature gets +3/+1 and gains flying until end of turn, untap it. Like, that's way better because you swing, pump, smack your opponent in the mouth, untap, and then you still have the blocker. This is a very defensive orientated combat trick. And I mean, while giving flying is good, it's not, very like, I think reach is more... I mean, it's exactly the same. It makes no difference. They're almost exactly the same card, and I don't think the green one was saw play, so this one probably doesn't either. I don't think it's good enough. Like, flying is better on when you're aggressive than reach is, but because this is not an aggressively statted pump spell, it's just Adaptive Gem Guard, 4 mana for a 3/3. Tap 2 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control. Put a +1/+1 counter on Gem Guard only as a sorcery. I mean, it's okay. It grows endlessly, I guess. I mean, it's a 4 mana 3/3, which isn't great for its stats. And you can only activate the abilities as sorcery, which means you're tapping your creatures in your turn, which leaves you open to getting attacked. Or for this, getting blown up, and then you just, getting nailed in the face. But, I mean, it can tap itself. How good is that? Not really. I mean, it depends on the power level of, like, the rest of the set. This is just kind of mediocre. And, like, it's okay. I think tapping 2 things... I mean, if you've got a bunch of artifacts, like, I know that you can make map tokens, even, in this set. And map tokens are artifact tokens that you can tap to make a creature explore or whatever. I've had a look at some of the mechanics. I just, haven't actually looked at the cards yet. So, like, if you can make a bunch of those and then tap those to pump this every turn, it's fine, but it's kind of slow. I mean, it comes down, you tap 2 artifacts, it's a 4 mana 4/4, I guess. Then it's next turn it's a 5/5. I guess it's fine. Like, I don't hate this card. I'm just not excited about it. So, we'll see. I guess it depends on how many artifacts there are. Because you don't really want to be tapping creatures for this. Like I said, if you're tapping the map tokens, because you're just generating map tokens and you have nothing better to do with them, because you don't want to use them yet, like, this is fine. But if you're tapping 2 creatures for this, it's so slow and just not very good. Attentive Sunscribe, 2 mana for a 2/2. That's fine. Whenever it becomes tapped, scry 1. There was a card very similar to this in a few sets ago, apart from it wasn't an artifact. I think it was a 2 mana 2 mana 2/2. That whenever I think so. I think it was a 2 mana 2/2 that when it becomes tapped, scry 1. It was in the same set with everything that taps for... Oh god. Taps to give its power to another thing. I can't remember. But it was in that set. That card was fine. This card is probably fine as well. Scry's good. It's a turn 2/2/2, so you can probably start swinging with it relatively early. Fix a couple of draws, and then when they put something in the way to stop it. I mean, you don't really care if this trades either. Like, if this trades with another 2/2 or a 3/2 or something, you're probably fine with it. The only thing you don't want it trading with is probably a 1 mana 2/1, but I haven't seen one of those yet, so this is probably a fine card. This is like, you know, I'm in white, so I might as well pick this. Also, it's an artifact, which appears to be white's things, judging from the first, like, 3 cards we've seen. So, you know, I'm fine with it. Bat Colony. 3 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying for each mana from a cave spent to cast it. Whenever a cave enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. In limited, this probably isn't good enough. I don't know how many caves there are. I mean, I'm assuming there's one of each color. But in limited, you don't tend to be taking, like, you don't build a mana base, which means anything that relies on lands probably isn't, like, specific lands, probably isn't good enough. So this is 3 mana to create a 1/1, essentially, if you have a cave. Which, yeah, because it's all about the caves. I don't think this is very good. I mean, maybe there's a cave in every pack, and maybe you pick up, like, every single cave, and your entire mana base is caves. And then maybe this is fucking gross. But, I think if it was, when it enters the battlefield, create a bat creature token with flying, and whenever a cave enters, you create another bat, that's way better. But a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, I don't think you care that much. I don't think this is, like, I don't think you're going to get the land base to make this good. This is probably just, like, at its best, 3 mana for 3 1/1s, which is fine, which is good, I guess. 3 flying, yeah. I mean, 3 flying 1/1s for 3 is good, but again, you have to get all of the cave. You have to have 3 caves out, and use just 3 caves to play for this. Which is, I don't know if the caves. I'm assuming they probably enter the battlefield tapped, which means you're not doing that until turn 4. I don't like it. I don't think it's that good. Clay-fired bricks. 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, so it's an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic plains card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle, you gain 2 life. I don't mind that. Craft with artifact. So for 7, you can exile this artifact and another artifact you control or an artifact from your graveyard. Return this card transformed under its owner's control as a sorcery. Okay, so you could probably, if there's a way to sacrifice, I mean, this is essentially fuel for itself, right? Because you exile things, it has its whole effect when it enters the battlefield, so then things like this are what you use to fuel the craft with artifacts and other stuff. So what does it cut into? Cosium Kiln, I guess. When Cosmium Kiln enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens. Creatures you control get +1/+1. For 7? For 7? For 7 mana, you give me 2 2/2s and a 3 mana aura. No? Thanks? For 7 mana? Nah. I mean, if this is just on the field, if you have like 2 of these on the field from what you played on turn 1 and 2, maybe you just do it anyway. But, like, I'm not picking this for the flip side. 7 mana for +1/+1 and a 2 1/1s. That's crap. Literally. That's, like, 2 or 3 mana overpriced. Nah. There's no way. There's no way you're paying that. I don't like this card. I think this card's kind of crap. I mean, I like the front side. 2 mana for a land, like, to essentially make sure you always have you have a good mana curve, and gain 2 life. That's fine, but I don't like. I think this is crap, right? Like, that's not just me. This is just garbage for 7 mana. Like, imagine on turn 7, you just flip this. You're just there like, yeah, I gave +1/+1 and a couple of 2/2s. Sweet. No. No. This is crap. Absolute garbage. There is... The Cosmium Kiln is just... It is not worth 7. Let's put it that way. Cosmium Blast, okay. 2 mana, 4 damage, target attacking or blocking creature. Yeah, this is... I mean, this is in almost every set for white. It's a, you know, destroy a swinging dude. Like, this is a... You probably take 1 or 2 of these, depending on other removal in the set, and you probably blow out your opponent once or twice with it. It's fine. I mean, people probably aren't going to play around it in limited. Like, you're not going to not attack with your 4/4 because they might have a Cosmium Blast. You're just going to keep swinging, and if your opponent has it, then they have it. That's kind of the way it works. So, yeah, it's fine. I like cards. I like always having a couple of, you know, consistent cards you can rely on in draft, and this is one of them. There's always... Like, last one, we had the Light Blades, which was 3 damage, or if you bargain it, you exile a creature. Like, this is the exact... It's very, very similar. Dauntless Dismantler. 2 mana for a 1/4. Artifacts your opponent controls enter the battlefield tapped. And white double X. Sacrifice it, destroy each artifact with converted mana value X. Okay. So for... What is it? 2, 4, 5. You destroy all 2 mana artifacts. I mean, depending on how how prevalent artifacts are, the artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped could be really big. Like, if you get this down turn 2 and you're an aggressive deck, and your opponent is mainly playing artifacts, that all their shit's coming in tapped, and you just start battering them. They're always essentially a turn behind on the creatures on the field. This can be good. But, I mean, double X and white... It is destroy each artifact, I suppose. So it's like an artifact board wipe. Which is pretty good. But it's very pricey unless there's some, like, real game-changing artifacts on the low end. But I don't know, I haven't seen too much. So, I mean, this is a... If it's good, it's great. If it's not, it's kind of useless card. I'll give it a... Deconstruction Hammer. 1 mana. Okay. And equip is 1. Okay. Equip creature gets +1/+1 and has 3. Sacrifice. Deconstruction Hammer. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. I mean, a 1 mana equipment that gives +1/+1 is fine. Like, that's playable in draft, just because, you know, giving a dude +1/+1 might be the difference between trading or swinging over the top and not. So stuff like this is always, you know, fine. But, I mean, it's not exactly, you know, exciting, edge of your seat. And I don't think, I mean, again, it depends on if there are some real game-breaking enchantments and artifacts in this set, and if your opponent has them. This is the thing. Something like this is, I think this is kind of, this is the sort of enchantment removal you want, because it's a buff to your creature that is going to allow you to go over the top in, you know, an even creature. Like, if you're playing a 3 mana 3/3 and they're playing a 3 mana 3/3, then the next turn you equip this to your 3 mana 3/3 and you have a 4/4. So you just swing over the top and crunch your opponent in the face, which is good. And then it also has destroy target artifact or enchantment on it. If your opponent goes, here's my game-winning enchantment, you go, well, no. Or, I mean, or they just can't play it into this, right? Until they destroy this themselves. Or play something that baits you into sacrificing it. So I think this is actually, depending on how strong, how many really strong artifacts or enchantments there are, this is decent. Or could be. I mean, it's a 1 mana +1/+1, which I'd probably take. It's probably fine in, like, weenies and stuff like that. It's probably fine in limited. Dusk Rose Reliquary. 1 mana for an artifact. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Okay. Ward 2. When it enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. Ooh. This is not bad, I think. I mean, it's removal. Removal's generally good. You have to sacrifice something to it, but an artifact or a creature, you could there's like I said, there's map tokens in this set. We've already seen creature tokens. I mean, there's going to be creature tokens in every set. But this is not bad at all. This is like pay 1, sack a 1/1 token or a map token, exile your opponent's scary thing, and it has wards so that it's more difficult to remove. I think this is good. Like, surprisingly good. For a 1 mana? For a 1 mana artifact, like, I think this is good, right? I mean, I guess it could sit in your hand dead if if you don't have anything to sacrifice to it. But I mean, a 1 mana removal is strong. Like, this is almost... I mean, you can't play this on turn 1. But you don't want to play removal on turn 1 anyway. And turn 2... This is great, I want limited. Yeah. Well, also, nice to meet you. Fort Fusin World War II. Should I just call you Fort? I'll call you Fort for now. Yeah, I think this card's really good. Like, it's just like sacrifice a spare creature or like artifact or like map token or whatever, and just get rid of a dude. I think this is really good. Because you're not going to be playing this on turn 1 anyway. There's nothing you're going to play this on turn 1. And on turn 2, again, I don't think there's anything you really care about using this on. So, and by turn 3, this is, you know, you can play a 2-drop and then sacrifice, like if you've played a 2-drop or a 1-drop on turn 1 or 2, on turn 2, you can literally play another 1 or 2 or 2 1-drops or a 2-drop and this as well. It's literally 1 mana removal that protects itself. I think this is really good. Like, it's got to be, right? This has got to be just really, really damn good. Yeah, I'm going to go with this is really good. Like, I think this is, like, standard level possible good. So I think in limited, this has got to be really good. And also, it's a common. This thing's gross. If you have, like, creature tokens or spare artifacts, like, if we go back, like, this clay-fired bricks, you play this on turn 2. When it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a basic plains, reveal it, put it into your hand, gain 2 life. The effect's already happened. You're done. You're happy. You got 2 life. You got your plains for your next turn. Next turn, you play a plains, and then you just Dusk Rose, sacrificing that because the flip side isn't useful. And for 1 mana, you've just exiled any problem card your opponent has. Like, White has a bunch of has a bunch of artifacts and stuff. Or like even the Bat Colony that I said was bad has a chance to summon a couple of tokens. You can just sacrifice a token. This is good. This Dusk Rose is good. It has to be. It has to be good. Right. Envoy of Okinek Owl. I don't know how you say that. 3 mana for a 3/3. That's good. And 5 mana, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. This card's good. I like this. This is a good limited card. I mean, it's just a 3 mana 3/3. And if it survives to turn 5 and you can't attack into your opponent, and you don't have anything to play, you just 5 mana make a dude. 5 mana make a dude. Every turn, like at the end of your opponent's turn, or if they attack, you make a blocker. This is a good card. I like this card. And also, you also have making dudes, and you can sacrifice dudes to the Dusk Rose, which again is a common. So you probably have a number of. Like, this is just fuel. I mean, it's 5 mana, a bit expensive for a 1/1, but again, like, in limited, boards get stalled a lot. So there's every chance that you just have like one or two of these just sat on the board and you can't attack because your opponent has a board that you can't attack into, but they can't attack into you because you have dudes as well. You just, every turn you're making a 1-1. It means even if you draw just like a land, it doesn't matter because you can still make a 1-1. Uncommon? Is that silver? Oh, it is silver. My bad, I wasn't looking close enough. Okay. I mean, that card is still gross. But maybe your opponent's not going to have like 3 of them. But yeah, I think this Envoy of Oknek is just good, right? It's just a guy that makes guys. It's expensive, but again, I don't think that's too bad in limited. And I mean, yeah, I think this guy's good. I think this guy's definitely, and it's making artifact stuff, which again, White seems to be artifact focused. So I think this is good. Fabrication Foundry. Okay, this is another rare. So this is our second rare. 2, and it is tap, add white. Spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate the ability of an artifact source. Right? For 3 and tap, exile 1 or more other artifacts you control with total mana value X. Return target artifact card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. I don't think this is good in limited. Again, it depends on how many artifacts there are. Maybe... Well, actually, I think maybe the first... So if you're... Let's say like 50% of your deck is like... so not this, but you've got... like this Artifact Gnome, the Attentive Sunscribe, this Adeptive Gen Guard, which is another artifact creature. Like, there seem to be a number of artifacts and artifact creatures in white. White is the artifact color, it looks like. So, this is essentially ramp in white. Ramp isn't good in limited, though. Not really. I mean, it's fine, but it's just, you know, you don't want to be playing just, you know, ramp spells in green in limited. It's just not really... You need to have the ramp spells and the big cards, and you also need to not die too fast to someone who's just aggroing you in the face with limited cards. But this is very early. This is 2 mana for, you know, an extra land, essentially, if you're playing all artifacts, or mostly artifacts. Which I think is at least decent, but is it good enough for you to want to pick this? I mean, the problem is the 3 mana exile 1 or more other artifacts you control with mana value, because this is tokens have a mana value of 0, so you have to actually remove legitimate cards that you have played to return an artifact card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, like, unless the artifact you're returning is absolutely game winning, I don't think you'll want to sacrifice your entire board to get something back. I don't like the second part. I think the first part's fine. Again, I don't think it's good enough in limited, though, because, like I said, ramp isn't good in limited, really. So I don't think this is great. I think this is Family Reunion. 2 mana to choose 1. Target creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. Creatures you control gain hexproof until end of turn. This is alright. Like, especially if you're going like lots of small dudes. It's like oh god, there's a bunch of them in white. Like, all creatures get +2/+1 until end of turn. You know, a bunch of like charge spells where you swing out, pump everything, and go for the kill. But it does have a nice bit of protection. It means if your opponent is running a bunch of removal, you can just hexproof, you know, your creatures. But most, like, this is the thing. Most times where creatures you control get hexproof is going to be good. It's going to be... It would be better if this was, a creature you control for 1 mana rather than all creatures for 2 mana. Because there's no... I can't think of anything that targets an entire field individually. And it doesn't protect against sweepers, because hexproof don't protect against sweepers, because it's just everything, it's not targeted. So, I mean, I think this is okay. Maybe you want, one of these in your draft deck, just to have, all your creatures get +1/+1 as a combat trick, and go over the top sort of thing. But, it's a... I picked 22 cards, I'm relatively low to the ground. I guess I want a 23rd. I guess I want this. I don't think giving all of your creatures hexproof is... if it was creatures you control getting hexproof and indestructible, then this card is great. Because it protects against sweepers, it protects against single target removal, and single target exile, and if you don't need that, you can just pump everything. That card's great. But just hexproof? It's a bit of a... it's a bit overkill. You don't need to give all your creatures hexproof. Generally, you need to give a creature hexproof. So, I'd say this is fine to have a one-off in an aggro-y white deck, I guess, in Limited. Get Lost. Love it. 2 mana. Destroy target creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. Its controller creates 2 map tokens. So this is... what's the one? The 2 mana destroy and its controller investigates. Fateful Absence. This is Fateful Absence, but for this set. How good are map tokens? I mean, when Investigate was a thing, investigating is good, or not investigate. Exploring is good. So if people don't know, explore is you look at the top card of your library. I think if it's a land, you can put it into your hand. If it's not, you can leave it on top or put it into the graveyard. I think is how it works. Something like that. Your creature gets +1/+1. If it... God, I need to go look this up. 1 second, chat. Let me go bring it up so I know. Yeah, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put that card into your hand. If it's not... you can put a +1/+1 counter on the creature, and you can either put the card back on top or it goes to the library. So, yeah. So, 2 tokens that are look at the top card of your library. For 1 mana, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it into your hand. If it's not, the creature gets +1/+1, and you can put the card, leave it on top, or put it into the graveyard. How good is that? I mean, again, this is... I think... I mean, it's 2 mana instant speed removal. This card is good. Don't get me wrong. This card is good. The downside is, how good are 2 map tokens for your opponent? And it depends, I think, on the explore synergies in this set. Because back when Explore used to be a thing, there was like a 1/3 that every time you explored got a +1/+1 counter and you gained a life or something, or gained 2 life or something. And it was absolutely insane because you just played 4 of those and a bunch of Explore cards, and it was the win condition. But again, it depends on the synergies, because if you do this and your opponent has no synergies for Explore, this is 2 mana, destroy anything you could possibly want apart from an artifact, I suppose. And, your opponent gets nothing, essentially. Or maybe 2 +1/+1 counters. How much do you care in the future? I think this card is good. I mean, this card is standard good. So this card is very good in limited, I think. Like, I imagine this probably sees play in standard. So it's obviously very, very good in limited. But it is a rare. So the chances you actually run into this card should be... I say should be because that means every one of my opponents when I play MTG Arena and do drafts in this set is going to have 4 of these. But should be relatively unlikely. Glorifier of Suffering. Okay. 3 mana for a 3/2. When Glorifier of Suffering enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. When you do, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each of up to 2 creatures. I think this is good. This is really good, right? Like, if especially because we've seen there's a lot of tokens and like just dudes in white, and this is 3 mana, sacrifice something that you probably don't want, another creature or artifact. Like I said, that artifact for 2, and then 2 +1/+1. So this is 4 +1/+1 counters because it's 2 +1/+1 counters on each of up to 2 creatures. So this is a turn 3, what, 7/6, technically speaking, if you include the +1/+1 counters on itself, as long as you have 2 creatures on the field. Because it can target itself, right? So if you play a turn 1, 1/1, a turn 2, 2/2, turn 3, play this, sacrifice the 1/1, the 2/2 becomes a 4/4, and this becomes a 5/4. Right? Enter battlefield, sacrifice another creature or artifact. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target. Oh no, put a +1/+1. So not quite that good. It's only 1. I don't know where I thought 2 +1/+1 counters from. I was getting crazy. So a single +1/+1 counter, but still, again, if you play a 1/1 on turn 1, a 2/2 on turn 2, this on turn 3, you sacrifice a 1/1, you have a 3/3, and this is a 4/3. It's still good, right? As long as you're sacrificing just like a 1/1, or like a token, or an artifact that doesn't have any power, this is a good card in limited. I think this is a good card in limited. Yeah, it has to be. A 3 mana 3/2 that gives 2 that essentially puts 2 +1/+1 counters, 1 on each on 2 separate creatures. This is good. This has to be good. Again, it just has to be good. Guardian of the Great Door. Double white. Okay. As an additional cost to cast a spell, tap 4 untapped artifact, creatures, and or lands you control. And it's a flying 4/4. I think this is probably really good as well. From what we've seen, white seems to be like a weenie strategy. At least I think. Lots of dudes. And I mean, you can choose. So like, if you have like 2 artifacts, 1 creature, and 3 lands, which is fully, you know, doable by turn 3 or 4, you could just play this. This is good. This has to be good, right? It's a 2 mana and change on the board 4/4 with flying, but it's a 4/4 with flying. Like, this is good. Oh, thank you for the follow. Hey, Sophia? I'm gonna go for Sophia. I'm good. How are you? Yeah, this has to be a good card. It's a 4/4 flyer. In limited, this has to be a good card because it's a 4/4 flyer. And I know it technically says it costs 6 if you're doing it with lands. Oh, I'm glad you're doing well. But I don't think you're doing this with lands. I think you're just doing this with dudes on the board, right? So this is a, you know, 2, 3, maybe 4 mana 4/4. This is good. This is gross. This is strong and limited. This is very strong and limited. Yeah, this just has to be good and limited. How long have I... a little while now. Yeah, this card is good. This card is very good in limited. 100%. I think this is, if you see it, you just take it if you're in white. Like, every time. This is a good card. Helping Hand. 1 mana. Return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This is a good card. This is also just, you know... If white is white weenie, this is a nice card. You just, you know, 1 mana, return something. Yeah, I think 1 mana brings something back from the graveyard, even if it is, you know, restricted to certain things. This is probably just good. Fine. I'm currently doing a review of the upcoming Magic set, so I'm a little bit focused on that at the moment. But yeah, this has to be good, right? 1 mana, return anything, or a creature card with mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to battlefield tapped. This is just going to be good. Like, I mean, I don't think we've seen anything particularly interesting yet, but I mean, this is still just good, right? It's just 1 mana. Like, if you just pay 1 mana for this and return a mana value 3, a CMC 3 creature to the battlefield, even if it's tapped, it's just so good. This is just has to be good. This just has to be good, right? Oh shit, that actually works. Oh my god, Fort, that's gross. I didn't even think about that. This does have a CMC of 2. No way. Oh my god, imagine turn 3, you play Guardian of the Great Door by tapping stuff on the board, and then they kill it, and you just helping hand it back. That's disgusting. I didn't even think about that for. Holy shit. So, yeah. So this card, because this card is gross, this card has to be good. Right? Like, there's just... I'm not even, like, particularly registering the cards. But, yeah, I literally just saw something that this is really good with. Holy shit, that's really gross. Ironpaw Aspirant. 2 mana for a 1/2, and it puts a +1/+1 counter on something. 2 mana for a 2/3, because you can put it on itself. It's fine. This is, you know, this is fine. I guess, I mean, another Helping Hand target. You can just bring it back and put a +1/+1 counter on something. It's pretty good. Like, anything that is, you know, just a cheap way to put +1/+1 counters on something is pretty nice. I think, yeah, I think this is just a good card. This is, yeah, you probably just take a couple of these in any deck, or any white deck, because it's just, you know, +1/+1 is good. And then you can always, as we've seen with a bunch of other, you can tap this or sacrifice this to do things later. Like, this is just a fine card. This is just good. Kinjali's Dawn Runner. 3 mana for a 1/1 with double strike. When it enters the battlefield, it explores. Double strike cards are always... I mean, this is probably good. Because this is probably a 3... I mean, this is 3 mana, 1/1 with double strike that can be a 2/2 with double strike, which just makes it infinitely better. I have no idea what this is. Can I ban that? Sorry, I don't know where that's come from, but I'm just gonna ban this person. Can I ban this? How do I ban people? Or remove? I don't know how I don't know how to remove things. I'm really not very good at this, am I? Oh, I can just slash ban. Can I do that? Sorry. I don't mind the strange bot that's spamming about, or the person talking about the graphics design. That's one thing, but that other thing is not something I particularly want on my stream. So we'll get rid of that one. Right. Anyway, back to the 3 mana 1/1 that explores with double strike. I mean, there looks like, I mean, with just the Iron Paw Aspirant, and it's another thing you can bring back with Helping Hand. It looks like there's ways to put +1/+1 counters, and a double strike creature is just incredible value if you have ways to pump it. So, I think this card is good. I think this card is probably good. I mean, I don't think it's like game breaking, but I think, you know, it's just good. It's just a good card. Yeah, I think you probably pick this up. You're quite happy with it. Kutzil's Flanker. Okay. 3 mana, so again, this is another thing we can return. With Flash, when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on the flanker for each creature that left the battlefield under your control this turn. You gain 2 life and scry 2, or you exile target player's graveyard. So, again, this is a good card. I mean, it's a 3 mana, 3/1 with Flash, so you play it at the end of your opponent's turn. Again, I think most of the stuff that's on it is better in Standard than it's going to be in Limited. The put a +1/+1 counter on it for each creature that left the battlefield is for when you're up against a player playing sweepers, like up against control, and they sweep your board and you just play this as a massive dude and then crack them in the face because the sweeper probably took their whole turn. Gain 2 life, scry 2 is probably what you're mostly doing when you're playing him in Limited, so it's fine. And exile target players' graveyards is obviously when your opponent starts trying to do, you know, shenanigans. You just, nah, I'm alright, thanks. You just exile the graveyard. So I think this card is really, really good. But I think in Limited, specifically, it's just 3 mana, 3/1 with Flash where you gain 2 life and scry 2. Which is good, but it's not, you know, life-changing. I think this is actually considerably better in Standard. But I think in Limited, it's just, you know, a 3/1 with Flash that you gain 2 life and scry 2. It's still, I mean, you're still picking it every time you see it. Don't get me wrong. Because it's got Flash, so you just flash it in at the end of your opponent's turn and they get sad. But I think it's actually better in Standard. Malamet Warscribe. 5 mana. Okay, this is expensive. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. So this is one of those, you know, all my dudes get jacked cards, but it's on a creature. It's honestly, it being on a creature is probably better because then you're not putting a card in your deck that isn't a creature. Like you probably, but see, when it's on an instant card, you can swing, play the instant, and your opponent has already done poor blocks or hasn't blocked and is just dying to the face. When it's a sorcery speed spell or a creature like this, they can see it coming. But you play this, it's a 5 mana 4/3, which is eh. But then everything on your field gets jacked and you just swing. And then you at least have this left, I guess. I mean, I think honestly this is probably better than the board pump spells that White usually gets, because usually they're sorcery speed. I think, if I remember rightly, they got a 3 or 4 mana spell that was just this. Sorcery speed. And would I rather have that stapled to a creature? Yes, of course I would. So, I think this is probably better. Again, you probably want one of these. This is probably like your finisher, and your finisher is a creature. So, this is probably better than your usual, you know, board pump stuff, because it's attached to a dude. So, yeah, I think this card's good. I think, like I said, it's good enough that you take maybe one. I don't think you want to fill a deck with these, because I think you plan on having a bunch of low to the ground stuff and then just playing this to pump them all and go. But yeah, I think this card's good. Market Gnome. 1 mana. When it dies, you gain 1 life and draw a card. I like this card. When is exiled from the battlefield while you're activating a craft ability, gain 1 life and draw a card. Okay, this is good. I like this card. I mean, it's a... Do I like this card? It's not aggressive. So maybe I don't. It's a 1 mana 0/3. So you're not attacking with it. But if your opponent is getting aggressive, this thing is just incredible, right? It's a 1 mana 0/3. Your opponent probably can't attack into it until turn 2 or 3. And even if they do kill it, you just gain a life and draw a card. And if it's even in later game, if you have something that you want to craft with an artifact, you just play this and do it, and you still get the game 1 life, draw a card. I think this card's good. I think this card is good. Yeah. I mean, we've only seen like 1 craft white card, and it's been crap. So I don't know. We'll have to see if we get any better ones. But I like this card. This card's fine. I like the. I think this card is good. If you get if there's some good crafts, this card is good. It keeps you alive and gives you I mean, it draws you an extra card. It can't be bad if it's a 1 mana creature that draws you a card. It just can't be. It is just good. Might of the Ancestors. 3 mana at the beginning of for an enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +2/+1 gains vigilance until end of turn. It's probably pretty good. As well. Yeah. I mean, 3 mana. But it does do something the turn it comes down. Like, it's 3 mana and one of your creatures gets the effect as long as you play it before attacking. Which you just do. Like, why would you not play it before attacking? It doesn't give you any extra toughness, which is a bit sad. But, I mean, it probably means you trade up and also gives you vigilance, so you can still block. So, like, if your opponent has a 4/4 and you have 2 2/2s, this means you can start swinging with one of the 2/2s because it becomes a 4/2 on the swing, and your opponent doesn't want to trade with a 4/2. So you crack them in the face for 4, and they still can't swing back in because you still have the 2 2/2s because it has vigilance. I think this is good. This is... I know I've said this a lot. I've been a big fan of a lot of these cards. I like attacking people. And a lot of the white cards have just been like, make dudes and attack stuff. And that just makes me happy. That's what I want to see. So I think this is a good... And also in limited, just attacking people. Like... I know, I understand in standard, lots of people are like, oh, what's your win condition? But in limited, the win condition is simple. You summon dudes and hit your opponent. That's it. Like, it's better to have, you know, a card that is a win condition all by itself. That would be nice. But if not, make dudes and you hit people. Combat Professor from Strixhaven. Is that STX? I think STX is Strixhaven, right? I don't remember Combat Professor specifically. I'm sure if I saw the card, I would remember it. Because I drafted a lot of Strixhaven. Let me go. Right. Let me go see if I can find it. I'll go see. Oh, it's the flyer. The beginning of upkeep, target creature. Yeah. The 4 mana bird. Yeah. To be fair, that card does fly. This card is just an enchantment, but it is cheaper. To be fair. So that was 2/3, and it was only giving +1/+1. Yeah. Combat Professor was really good as well. So this has to be good. Like this, just I like I was saying. I think this is just good. I think you're going to be the aggressor most of the time in white, and this just allows you to be even more aggressive. I think this card is really good. Yeah. Miner's Guidewing. 1 mana for a 1/1 flying vigilance, and when it dies, target creature you control explores. This is good. Yeah. Give me all the 1 mana 1/1 flyers, thanks. I'll take that. Like, you just take this. 1 mana flying vigilance. You just start pinging your opponent. They have to do something about it. If they kill it, you just get value off the explore. This is great. This is a great card. I'd run 4 of these. Easy. This is a good card. Mischievous Pup. It's a doggo. I like doggos. 3 mana for a 3/1 with flash, and when it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target permanent you control to its owner's hand. It's Protection Pup. This is probably good. Again, I keep saying this is good, but there's been so many just good cards. I mean, this stops your opponent from using targeted removal because you just bounce the thing. It allows you to get extra value off anything that hasn't entered the battlefield effect, such as this guy, or the Dawn Runner, or the Aspirant. It's mana value 3 or less, so again, you can just bring it back. Yeah, this is good. This is another good card. There's so many just good cards working. This is a really nice little synergy set, I think. There's a bunch of just nice little cards that are working together. Ojutai Deepest Foundation. Now, I know, like I said, I haven't read them, but I know there is like a set of 5 gods, and they all become lands, I think, if I remember correctly, and you can turn them back somehow. But anyway, 6 mana for a 6/6 with Vigilance, already good. If 1 or more creature tokens would be created under your control, 3 times that many are created instead. So this is doubling not doubling season. This is what's the white enchantment that does it? That doubles it. I can't remember. There's a white enchantment that does this. I mean, white loves this effect. There's a Anointed Procession. Yes, that is. So yeah, this is Anointed Procession on steroids, stapled to a 6/6. When it dies, return to the battlefield, tapped and transformed, and it transforms into a land, which you can transform it back if you're attacked with 3 or more creatures this turn. This is disgusting, right? This is just gross. Like, I mean, this is, I play this on turn 6. My opponent must deal with it immediately, or I'm probably just, you know, where's the dude? Making artifacts. Like, there's stuff to make artifacts, to make tokens and artifacts in this set. In white, specifically, and in this set. So, if you have this, and just, like, 3 or 4 3 or 4 token generators, you play this, your opponent must deal with it immediately. They must get rid of it. And even if they do, unless it's exile removal, you just get this. And then you attack with 3 things, and it just comes back. And your opponent must deal with it again. Unless you attacked with, for some reason, all of your token generators. Because I guess if those are the only creatures you have. This card is disgusting. This card is so good. Right? Like, you just, this is limited bomb. 100%. The only problem is that it costs 6. But again, like, that's fine in limited. Because the games are going to go longer, I imagine. Unless you're, like, super aggressive. I mean, I guess white seems super aggressive. But still. This has to be good. Just has to be. This is, yeah, okay. So I'm assuming all the gods are going to be this nuts. But this one in particular, with any token generators, is insane. Because it's just Anointed Procession on steroids. Because it's 3 times instead of twice. Which actually means, well, so let's go back. This is going a bit far back. I didn't like this artifact to begin with. I thought this sucked. Because craft for 7 to make 2 1/1s and give your creatures +1/+1. That's crap. For 7 mana, that is not good enough. But if you do it, the turn after this guy comes in, it's transform, make 6 2/2s, and all your creatures get +1/+1. That is disgusting. This card makes bad cards good. Which means if you take this as your first card, you can pick cards that other people aren't going to want in white, that I wouldn't pick in white if I was playing white, and get yourself like a nice little token deck. Like you just take a bunch of like more control-y removal stuff and token generators, and then just get to Ojatak or whatever his name is, and just that's it. Your opponent just loses because you just make a million dudes forever. Yeah, that card's absolute bomb. Old Tech Archaeologists, 5 mana for a 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand or scry 3. Sure. I mean, it's fine. Again, I mean, it's a 5 mana 4/4. It's fine. I'd probably, for 5 mana, I'd probably prefer the 5 mana 4/3 dude that gives all your creatures +2/+1. At least if I'm playing the white weenie. The Scry 3's fine. You probably take one of these in a deck, maybe, and then maybe remove it if you've got better cards later. This is a, you know, there were 2 cards left in the pack and one of them was an Old Tech Archaeologists. I guess I'll take it sort of card. I don't think this is very good. This is a bit Old Tech Cloud Guard. 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, create a artifact creature token. This is good. This is a good card. I like this. It's a 4 mana flyer, 3/2 flyer, and also gives you something to block on the ground if you're losing on the ground. This is good. And again, token generators with fucking this thing. Yes. Because then this is a 4 mana 3/2 that comes with 3 1/1s, which is just nuts. Like, yeah, okay. Like, again, you can't expect to have a mythic rare in your draft. You can't just plan around it. But also, if you do have it, all of these sort of cards go from being, you know, oh, this is a fine card, to this is incredible. I guess you would have to wait until after turn 6 to play it, so. But I still think this is a good card. I mean, it's just a 3/2 flyer is good. And also makes a 1/1, that's fine. That's good. Otaclan Landmark. 1 mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Okay. And you can craft with another artifact to make a Levitator, a 1/4 flyer. When it attacks, target attacking creature without flying gains flying. I think this is okay. And I think the reason this is okay is because, first of all, white has a bunch of artifacts. Secondly, you can exile an artifact from your graveyard, which is what I like about the craft. You can do it from the board, which I think is usually not going to be what you want to do, unless you just have a spare token. Or you could do it from your graveyard, which is really good. Because, I mean, what are you going to... Especially in Limited, there's probably not a lot you're going to be using. I mean, actually, we've seen some return from the graveyard in white, so maybe there is, but that was creatures and this is artifacts. So if it goes to the graveyard, probably just... Yeah, whatever. The only problem is it's very defensively statted. I mean, so this swings, it deals 1, and it gives something else flying, that deals damage, but it's very defensively statted, like it's a 1/4. It doesn't have vigilance, so it can't block. Maybe it's not good. Maybe it's too much. I think it might be too much effort for a 1/4 with flying. Even if it does give something else flying. Like... I don't think I'd pick it. I don't think I'd go for it. I don't think it's that good, actually. Nah. Even with the craft, I think craft is good. I don't think this is good. Petrify, 2 mana, can't attack, block, or activate. Yeah. This is a very standard enchantment that's in almost everything. Sure. It's like Pacify, but also can't activate their abilities. I think this has been printed a couple of times before. Maybe not under the same name, but pretty much exactly the same. This enchants artifacts as well, I guess, which is better. But, you pick it. It's removal. You probably pick this every time you see it in white. This is good. It's just good, but again, it's a card that comes out every single set, so Quicksand Whirlpool for 6. This spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature, so that is for 4. Exile target creature. It is instant speed. It's very expensive. Like, this permanently removes the thing. This keeps it on the board, but it can't do anything unless they can destroy the enchantment. But this costs 4 less. Or 2, if it's on a tapped creature. Maybe you just say removal's good enough and take this anyway. I mean, it's removal, so it's probably being taken, but I think this is pricey. This is very pricey. But we haven't seen... No, we have seen some very good white removal, actually. I mean, I think it depends on how much removal you have. If you don't have any removal, this is great, because you don't fucking have any removal. But if you already have, like, a couple, like, one of those heart things that exiles for 1 mana, and then, like, you have a couple of petrifies, and maybe you even have the rare white removal, like, this card is overpriced. But it is removal. And removal is always premium in Limited, so... Resplendent Angel. 3 mana for a 3/3. Oh, this is a reprint. Flying at the beginning of your end step, if you gain 5 or more life this turn, create a 4/4. Yeah, with Flying Vigilance. Until end of turn, it gains +2. So yeah, so this is a reprint. I've seen this card was printed before. It's good. This card is good. I mean, even if there's no way for you to gain life, it's a flying 3/3 for 3 that, if you get to 6 mana, starts generating 4/4 flyers. This is just a good card. This is gonna win you games by itself. So, yeah, this is just a good card. I've seen Resplendent Angel before. This is a reprint, but it's a reprint of a really good card. So, yeah, good card, fantastic. Always pick it if you see it. I think this card is just great. Ruin Lurker Bat, a 1 mana 1/1 flying lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, if a permanent card was put into a graveyard from anywhere, scry 1. It's a 1/1 flyer. We like it. It also has lifelink. We really like it. It's a good card. Give me, like I said, give me all the 1/1 flyers. I'll take all of them. I'll have 4 of the other one that explores and 4 of this one as well. I don't care. I'll just throw flyers at you until you die. Savage Evangelist. 3 for a 2/1 battle cry. Whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. When it enters the battlefield or dies, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. I mean, yeah, this is probably good. It's 3 mana for 3/2 stats across 2 bodies, and then it attacks and pumps everything. If you have a bunch of flying bat tokens, and then even if it dies, you get another flying bat token. This is good. This is good. It's a good card. It's really good in Limited. I like this. Is that a rare? Yeah, I think it is. It's difficult for me to tell. I can't really see from where I am, but yeah, this is a really good card. I think. Yeah, this is just good. Definitely just good. Yeah, it's a good card. Soaring Sandwing. A 6 mana flying 3/5. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, and it has plane cycling. I mean, any card with cycling, you probably just have at least 1 or 2 of, right? In Limited, and also on the bottom left. Oh yeah, uncommon, rare, common. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I could see now. I don't even. I'm so used to just looking because in paper magic you just look and it's so easy to see, but on the computer screen it's just it doesn't look quite the same. But I think these were the best images we could find. I don't know. My partner went looking and found the best images he could. So, but I think this card is fine. I mean, it's a 6 mana 3/5, which is a bit. But it does have plane cycling. So, if you get stuck on lands, you just, plane cycle it. And when it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. I think this is okay to have one of in any white deck, just because, you're probably plane cycling it, and if it gets late, you just play a big flyer. This is probably just good enough in limited literally because of the last bit of text that says plane cycling on it. Spring-loaded Saw Blades. 2 mana for an artifact with flash. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to target tapped creature an opponent controls. This I like. This is interesting. So this is we saw the 1 mana. We saw the other one, the 2 mana instant speed, deal 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This is better. And it has craft with an artifact to make Blade Wheel Chariot. A 5/5, tap 2 other untapped artifacts, it becomes an artifact creature or crew 1. This is a good card. This is just a good card. I mean, 2 mana flash, destroy a tapped creature, almost definitely. Like, 5 damage is going to destroy most of what we've seen in this set, apart from the god. So, it's good enough. And then for 4 mana, you can make a 5/5. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. What removal have we seen? We've seen this. We've seen the other one that does this but 4 damage. We've seen the destroy for 2 mana. We've seen the pacify or petrify or whatever the fuck they want to call it. And we've seen the 6 mana exile. So you are correct. A lot of the removal, they don't have like deal damage equal to the number of creatures you control or anything like that. It's all very get rid of a tapped creature. I mean, the enchantment making something unable to attack or block is probably the most aggressive version of removal. Or the heart, but the heart asks you to sacrifice a creature or artifact, so yeah. Also, I don't know. I feel like this would most commonly be a sorcery that you just won and done it, and you'd be fine with that. But the fact that it's an artifact you can later turn into a 5/5, this is really good in limited. This is really good in limited. Like it just has to be. It's a destroy a creature, and then later make this. This is just, it has to be good. Especially because you can tap just 2 random untapped artifacts and make it into a 5/5 every turn. This is good. Thousand Moons Crackshot. 2 mana, whenever it attacks, tap a creature. Yeah, if you've not got anything better to do with your mana, this is a good card. They regularly do cards like this. I would say a lot of the time they usually just tap down something for free. I don't think you usually have to pay mana, but paying the mana is fine. I think this is good because as you were saying, for a lot of the creatures are very aggressive. This is another aggressive creature that allows you to punch through, so I think this is probably good. I think I like this card. Yeah. Thousand Moons Infantry. 3 mana, untap infantry during each other player's untap step. And this is a very defensive card. Well, not exactly. You can swing with it. It essentially has vigilance. You can just YOLO it as much as you want. Actually, well, no, yeah, essentially just has vigilance, right? Yeah. Well, maybe not. I mean, again, in a 1v1 game, this essentially has vigilance. So in draft, this essentially has vigilance. Which is it's good. But it's defensively statted. I'd prefer a 3 mana 3/2. I think. Or 3/3. Yeah. I don't know if I don't know. This one feels more defensive. Yeah, it does. They're usually artifacts, though. Yeah, I suppose you are correct. It is better than Vigilance for tapping anything theme. But, I mean, again, this is artifacts. Tap 2 other untapped artifacts you control. I think the other one I saw, I'm not going to go all the way back, but the other one I saw was also artifacts. It seems to be artifacts more than creatures. Oh, no. Maybe it was creatures. Maybe it was creatures or artifacts. I think it was creatures or artifacts. So maybe you're right. This is better than... It's still very defensive, though. I think this is my least favourite card of the creatures so far for white because it's so defensive. Thousand Moons Smithy. 4 mana for a legendary artifact. Ooh. When it enters the battlefield, create a white gnome soldier artifact creature token with toughness. This creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of artifacts and or creatures you control. That's pretty good. I mean, you're going to be white weenie, so you're going to have a bunch. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may tap 5 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control. If you do, transform it. Barracks of the Thousand. Okay. Whenever you cast an artifact or creature spell using mana produced by Barracks of the Thousand, create a white gnome soldier. Oh, so this is just a game winner. This is a game-winning card. This is a game-winning limited card. That's just it. You play this, and if you get the... your opponent has to deal with it. Because if you get the flip, if you tap 5 artifacts and or creatures you control, you just win the game from then on. Because every creature you play comes with another creature. Every creature or artifact you play comes with one of these things. As long as you tap this land. Yeah. This is game winning. This is one of those if you have, yeah. Well, I think, right. So hear me out. I think in limited you are correct. This is too good. I think in standard this is fine because first of all it costs 4 mana, and even if you do it, like most sweepers for control decks are going to be turn 5, 6, that sort of stuff. So I think this is it doesn't do too much to standard probably. Although it is a soldier. There's already a white-blue soldiers deck going around, isn't there? That just pumps out a bunch of dudes and then buffs them all. This actually might be insane. Holy shit. Is this actually good in everything? I think this might be great in everything. But let's stick to limited. I think this just is... This is a card that you see and you take. This is so good that even if I was... 15 cards deep into a black pool, I'd be like, do I start taking white cards? Like, even if I'm like black red or black blue, like this card comes round and I go, maybe I splash white, even though it's double white, because if you flip this card, you are winning the game. Like, it's just, what does your opponent do? Every time you cast an artifact or creature using that, you just get an extra dude that's power and toughness equals to the number of artifacts and creatures you control. This is so good, I think you literally just take it every opportunity. And this should be mythic. This card is so good in limited. This is insane. Absolutely insane. Especially with white being so, dude heavy. Like, the only way you don't... Yeah. Yeah, I think this card should probably be a mythic rare, because I think that... Because with it being a rare, you usually see maybe 5 to 10 rares in a draft, depending on if people are just first picking the rares every time it comes around. So you could certainly see this in multiple drafts, and if you do, you just take it. This card is just that good. You just take this card. This is, yeah, I think this card is insane. Again, we haven't seen the rest of the set, so maybe... Also, this card with the god that is a mythic rare is insane. You just... Nah. White's terrifying if they have the cards. Right. Tinker's Tote. 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, create 2/1/1s, and you can sacrifice it to gain 3 life. It's alright. I mean, there's a good artifact theme in white, so maybe it's better than I'm thinking. To be fair, this on turn 3 is 3 mana towards casting the 2 mana flyer. Right? The 2 mana 4/4. This is just 3 mana towards that by itself. If on turn 3 you play this, turn 4 you could play the flyer. Because this essentially pays for it with the lands you already have. That's scary. I think this card might actually be good. Really. It's possible that it's not, because all it does is make 2/1/1s and an artifact by itself, and then all you could do is gain life from it. But there is Resplendent Angel in this set, so gaining life isn't something you just sniff at. And also there's a big heavy artifact theme, and this is 3 artifacts in 1. I think this is good. I think this is probably really good. Like, deceivingly under the radar good if you're in artifacts, right? Because this is just 3 artifacts. Right. Unstable Glyph Bridge. 5 mana. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, for each player, choose a creature with power 2 or less that player's controls. Then destroy all creatures except creatures chosen this way. So it's a board wipe for 5, essentially. And if you craft it with an artifact, which could be a creature you just destroyed yourself because white has creature artifacts and sent to the graveyard the following turn. So this can literally happen the following turn. Or on the same turn if you have 10 mana, but you're probably not getting 10 mana. So let's say the following turn from your graveyard. It's a 5/3 flyer. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during their turn, they can't attack you or planeswalkers. What? Each opponent who attacked you or a planeswalker you control can't cast spells. Holy shit. This shuts people down so hard. Oh my god. That's so good. Holy Jesus. Because this is a 5 mana board wipe, right? I mean, you can leave yourself and your opponent with 1 creature, but it's essentially a 5 mana board wipe that if anything you sent to the graveyard is an artifact, or the thing left on the field is an artifact, it just becomes this. It's got flying though. It's a 5 mana flyer. It's a 5 power flyer that if your opponent deals with it, they can't attack you. And if they attack you, they can't deal with it. Unless they have a flying blocker. But you've just board wiped so they don't have a flying blocker because you're not going to give them a flying blocker. Right? This is gross. There's so many disgusting cards. I haven't seen red yet either. I think it's, what is it? White, blue, red. Wait, was it? It's Wooburg, isn't it? Right, blue, black, red, green, multicolored. I don't know. I don't remember which way around it is. But I haven't seen any of the red cards, so I don't know either. But you are right. Like, Lightning Strike just kills this. But if your opponent is tapped out and they have to Lightning Strike in their turn to kill this, they can't attack you. Right? Because the effect triggers. When an opponent casts a spell during their turn, they can't attack you. Or a planeswalker you control this turn. It just triggers. So they can't attack you for one turn. I mean, I guess how good is that? But I mean, if you're an aggro red deck and you use burn to get rid of this and you can't attack, especially after you've just been swept, right? Because this is a sweeper. This is the thing. It's a sweeper into a 5/3 flyer. Like, if it was just a 5/3 flyer that did this, maybe. But it's stapled onto the sweeper. So you've literally just been swept. So you have maybe a creature left. And then they flip it into a 5/3. You have one turn to play creatures, essentially. So they play this, and then you have that turn to rebuild your board after being swept. And then they flip it into a 5/3 flyer. Maybe you don't. Maybe you save the mana. Maybe if you have it in hand, you just wait. Because then when they flip it, you just bolt it. We'll have to see if they've got a lightning bolt. Or lightning strike or whatever. But if not, this card is... I think this card is good. This card is just gross. I mean, it's... Again, it's at least as good as Sunfall. Because... Well, maybe not at least. Well... Yeah, I'd say at least as good as Sunfall. Sunfall is 5 mana, exile everything, make a dude with another 2 mana later, right? This is 5 mana, sweep everything, make a 5/3 flyer for 5 mana the following turn because you managed to play this, which means you have 5 mana. I mean, maybe not as good as Sunfall. Sunfall is insane, but it's still close. And you are correct. Thank God this thing has 3 toughness, because it means there are cards that are going to be able to block this thing or bolt this thing or, you know, kill it quite easily. But still, this card, because it's attached to a sweeper, is really terrifying in Limited. I think this is really good. Vanguard of the Rose. 2 mana for a 3/1. With 1 mana, sacrifice another creature or artifact. This gains indestructible until end of turn, tap it. I like this. This is an aggressively statted white card. This is good. I mean, it depends how many creatures or artifacts you have for this thing to chew through. But there was, what was it? It was a 3. It was a while ago. A 3/1 vampire that had pay 3 life, give this indestructible. And White Weenies just ran 4 copies because you just play it, swing, and if your opponent blocked it, you just paid 3 life because you didn't care. You were the aggro deck. You were just trying to swing with as much as possible. I mean, this you have to pay 1 mana for, so it's infinitely worse. But, you know, if you've got spare artifacts, which you probably have in Limited, it's good. Because once you've swung with it, like, if your opponent tries to kill it, you just sack something and tap it. And then, on the swing, if your opponent blocks it, the whole tap it at the end of that sentence makes no difference. It's already tapped, you're swinging. So then you just get indestructible, and all you had to do was sacrifice something. And, I mean, in Limited, you probably have stuff to sacrifice to this. I think this is a good card. Yeah, I think this is a good card. Warden of the Inner Sun. 1 mana for a 1/2. As long as Warden of the Inner Sun has 3 or more counters on it, it has flying and vigilance. Okay. Tap 3 untapped artifacts on all creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on it, scry 1, activators and sorcery. This is good. This is another I will win the game. And look, tap 3 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control. Tinker's Tote, just paying for it by itself. Literally, you play this on turn 3, you just start tapping this guy. You just start pumping this guy. On turn 3. Yeah, this is this is a good card. This is a very good card. This has to be a good card. Again, as you were saying, Fort, there's a lot of tap 2 things payoff, or tap a number of things payoff theme. This is a big payoff, because this is a turn 1/1/2 that your opponent cannot ignore. They can't just go, oh, it's a 1/2, it's fine, because by turn 3 you can start pumping this thing. Oh, thank you for the follow. Unfortunately, I'm in the middle of doing a review of the newest MTG set, so not right now. Sorry, Iara. Right. Or Lara. I don't know. I don't know if that's an L or an I. I can't tell. Anyway, this card is good. It is great in Limited. It's just good. Fantastic, in fact. Like, first pick worthy, easy, judging from what the rest of the white cards have been. 100%. This is a really good card.